Welcome to The Interview with Leslie Heaney, a podcast that features informational and inspirational stories from experts in everything from fashion and the arts to medicine and science. The Interview covers any and all topics that are timely and relevant to our lives today. I'm host Leslie Heaney, and I'm excited to share these compelling stories with you. I promise you'll be inspired, learn something new, and hopefully share a few laughs along the way. Today, I'm beyond excited to be talking with Veronica Swanson Beard, who, along with her sister-in-law, Veronica Beard, founded the juggernaut fashion brand, Veronica Beard. What began with the dickey jacket has expanded into a full lifestyle collection for women who make it happen. Veronica Beard is a brand with universal appeal and the track record to prove it. VB has opened dozens of stores across the U.S. and has ventured into the international market with locations in London, Toronto, and Seoul. And this year, they're on track to increase sales to $250 million, up from $100 million in 2018. Veronica Swanson Beard grew up on both coasts and started her career working with Narciso Rodriguez and Alberto Ferretti in wholesale, and then as a buyer for Marissa Collections in Florida. If Veronica wasn't a fashion designer, this mother of three would be flipping real estate and designing interiors. In this episode, Veronica talks about her inspirations, her wonderful family, and what's coming up next for both Veronica Beard, the brand, and for Veronica Swanson Beard herself. So with that, here's Veronica. I'm so happy to see you. We were just chatting before we went live with Jess, who's helping us with our sound, about being on Zooms.
Yeah.
And what it's like being on Zooms. And I was just about to tell Veronica that one of my first podcasts that I did was with a friend who's a plastic surgeon.
Oh my God.
Doug Steinbreck, which we have to redo because the sound wasn't great. It wasn't in studio. But as we're having the conversation about, I'm like, are you looking at my double chin? Right. Aren't you, God, Doug? Yeah. And he's like, no. I'm like, I know you are. What do I need? It was actually great because I got a free consultation.
Oh my God.
From him on Zoom.
I'm so scared of all of this.
Looking at my double chin. But, anyway, you don't have one to look at.
You do not have a double chin either.
I'm
looking at you either.
Gorgeous. So I think that listeners obviously know you and know your co-founder, Veronica Beard. But I think listeners want to know sort of the behind the music. This is kind of like your behind the music interview. Yeah. I just wanted you to know that, not to make you completely uncomfortable.
I haven't looked at the questions,
but I sort of how you came to Veronica Beard, the brand, your background, your family is such a fascinating story, and it's really how the brand is what it is, right? It's a reflection of you and
VMB
and VMB.
Yeah.
So let's take it all the way back to the beginning.
Take it all the way back. When I was 4
Where'd
years
you
old.
grow up? I mean,
so I grew up in Naples, Florida.
Yep.
Born in Naples. We moved to London when I was in second grade.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's when Alexis was at Ethel Walker's.
Okay. And Alexis for listeners
is my sister,
Veronica's
my older
sister.
So Dad, we grew up in Florida. Dad had sold his business and was taking a little bit of a sabbatical. And so we moved to London in 1985. And it was an amazing experience because my uncle Charlie was the ambassador then.
Oh, wow.
Under Reagan. And so it was a really cool, special time just to actually have access to that.
So Uncle Charlie is your dad's brother?
Dad's sister's husband.
Okay.
Aunt Carol.
Okay.
So Chaz.
Oh, yes, of course. Yep.
Parents. So we moved there and we were put into school at Hill House, which is a very old. It was a boys' school that had become co-ed and was super traditional and super rigid. Coming from Naples, Florida, and being like a free bird on the beach and going into that environment, which was, you carried a briefcase in second grade. You marched around London.
Amazing.
We were wearing knickers and bad uniforms, and I love the story of my mom. So you would get your your uniform at Harrods, and the schools would have the schools would have different, I guess, booths or counters or whatever where you would pick your uniform. So my mom goes to Harrods and basically designs her own uniform.
Of course
she picks like from one school the top and one school the skirt and a tight over here and a shoe and a beret and whatever. And she comes to the counter and the woman's like, "I'm sorry, ma'am, what school do your children go to?" And she's like, "Hill House." And the woman's like, "Oh no, you're confused.
Yeah.
The uniform is over there." And it was like copper corduroy knickers, a mustard, like really thick waffle wool sweater jumper. I mean, you had to wear ugly brown shoes. It was terrible.
But I love how Elizabeth,
of course, Mom was like trying to like bedazzle it.
Which, you don't come from nowhere. I mean, obviously.
Exactly. So we moved there, lived there for 2 years and then came back to Florida. And by the time we came back to Florida, Dad's businesses were in California and London. So we moved to California in 5th grade. And I really grew up in California, 5th grade through high school. In San Francisco and Napa Valley, but I always feel like I'm a Florida girl.
Yeah. Well, that's that's sort of the origin.
Yeah.
The origin.
Yeah.
But so talk about that though, because your parents are in Florida. Your dad, what business was he?
So Dad had gone to Stanford and was just a huge wine lover, and basically bought the vineyard in Napa Valley as a place to go in the Florida summers. And so it was first the vineyard, then the winery, then he owned Napa National Bank.
Okay.
And so it just became sort of everything Napa Valley wine industry. And at the same time, he had a business in London, which is a spirits distributing company in Europe.
Okay. Because I don't know if your mother told me this story, or maybe I'm getting it wrong, but I was under the impression that you all moved to Napa because he was pursuing this dream of, but I didn't realize he had the vineyard before you all moved.
No, okay. He had the vineyard before. I mean, but he was pursuing this dream and he was in big and on the West Coast. So he had to be either in California or in London. Florida didn't really make sense anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think and his whole business really and career before was the cable business and radio and newspaper before we moved to London. So I think just growing up with a dad that was such a serial entrepreneur, it was just, you could get into businesses that you were interested in. And I think that was such an awesome example to have.
Yep.
That it could be done. And my mom is the most creative. I mean, Mom really could have done so many things. Been an actress, been a designer, been a writer, been a artist. I mean, so many incredible things. She's so creative. And I think, in ways, the fact that she didn't do what she actually loved so much was a lot of why I felt so it felt so important for me to really follow my passion and my dreams. Yeah.
I mean, back to your mom for a second. I mean, she is sort of your dad's creative partner. I mean,
totally.
In everything that happens as it relates to the vineyard and your family's life. And her flair and her style is her own.
Singular. Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible.
She's amazing.
So you have those incredible mentors on both sides.
Yeah.
But I want to follow up with what you just said, and then I want to get to your own immediate family and your wonderful husband. But I remember that period when you were deciding kind of, because you have such a passion and a talent for fashion, but you also have, like your mother, are creative in so many different ways, have a passion for interior design. And I feel like there was a point where you were deciding which path to take, because you had been professionally in fashion, but you also have a love and a passion for design. So tell me about that. Remind me, take me back.
I think that, so I went to Tulane for undergraduate, then moved to New York to go to Parsons. to do really fashion business merchandising, and not design because I couldn't, because I was lazy about it. I knew it was so much harder to do the design program than to do the merchandising program. And
at Parsons,
yeah. Just anywhere. I mean, I was an artist in high school. I won a scholarship. I love fine art, but I didn't want to study fine art because I knew I would be in a studio all of college. Yeah. So I studied art history, and truly to be an artist is a real commitment in a different way. I was, I knew that I had a more social and business and sort of people skills than I wanted to go in a different direction. So anyway, I went to Parsons, and the summer after my first year of Parsons, I was offered a job. So I was working for Narciso Rodriguez, and I was offered a job to continue working after my internship. And basically I was like, this is my moment. Yeah. Like, I'm going to take my moment. And so I called my dad and I was like, look, I've been offered this job. I don't know where this is going to go, but this is my foot in the door of the fashion industry in New York. And I really think I've just got to take it.
And leave Parsons.
Yeah. And my dad was always super cool. Like, he was very much my person about, bailing me out when I needed to be bailed out. And he was tough, but he was also very, very nurturing about that stuff. Yeah. Like, he understood it. So he was cool about it, and he let me out. And when I went and told the dean,
he let me out.
Yeah, he let me out of it. But when I went and spoke to the dean, she was so funny. She was like, we understand, and if you make anything of yourself,
just make sure you put Parsons on your
head. Yeah. She was like, we'll say that you went here anyway. So that's good. But I'll
have to include Parsons in my intro bio.
Yeah, exactly. I do that later. I know. Went to a dropout, Parsons dropout. So I start working at Narciso, and it's just like his golden moment. It's so amazing. He's won Designer of the Year. Everybody's in love with him. It's Carolyn Bessette Kennedy time. Yep. She had just sadly passed, but there was just so much incredible. He is so creative. So it was so fun to work there. And it was really, really still crazy fashion, the way the fashion used to be. And
so what kind of stuff were you doing for him?
I was an intern, so I did everything. And then I was hired to work on his fall show. Okay. So it was the spring show in the fall. And Nyan Fish actually is who offered me the job then to go work with her. We'd work together on the show, to work with her for the MTV Fashion Awards. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally going there. And then the Narciso thing turned into a job in wholesale at IFA. And that's where I ended up, was IFA with Alberta Ferretti and Narciso Rodriguez. And then I went on and I loved wholesale. Michelle Stein was my boss at IFA. And she was incredible. You've never met a more detail-oriented person, where she taught me that every detail mattered.
I was going to ask you, what did you get out of those experiences working with someone like him and then working with her?
Well, Narciso was amazing just to sort of be around and to witness in that very, very, very creative way. Michelle was running a business, and it was all about growing this wholesale business. IFA's multiple lines at that point. It was
for listeners, will you tell them what IFA is?
Yes, IFA is spelled AEFFE. It's an Italian company, started by Alberta Ferretti, and the companies are Alberta Ferretti, Polini, Moschino. It was Jean-Paul Gaultier then. Yep. And it was just amazing. It was this very European fashion house on 56th Street. It was great. It was old school. People still smoked there.
Oh, God.
You know, there was a...
Why didn't you have me over back
Oh my
then?
God. It was the best. It was the best lunchroom. We would have catered lunch all the time. I mean, it was like, you know, when people still had expense accounts.
Yeah.
And what I loved about Michelle's training was so amazing because it was like, it was the presentation of product was so important. How you spoke to it, like what the romancing of the customer and, you know, being able to sell the dream. I mean, that was what she taught me in working in wholesale. And that was such a huge piece for me to understand that side of the business. And then the flip was, you know, she's one of my incredible mentors. And then Marissa Hardington, who owns Marissa Collections in Naples, Florida, which has been in business for 40 years and is a really, really well-known, well-respected specialty store in Florida. She was sort of like a fairy godmother to me always. I've grown up with her in Florida as a kid, and her son Jay is one of my dear friends. And she got me my first internship working for Oscar de la Renta when I was in college. And that was, again, Oscar had just won Designer of the Year, and being around Mr. de la Renta and that experience, which was just, was the king of, you know, American fashion. And it was the closest thing to, you know, American couture in the US. So that was super special. I hung up on him like 3 times in a row when I was working as a receptionist at the front desk. They would like rotate me on that. They didn't do it again after I was there.
Say, I'm surprised it took 3 times
Adam
for them
Lippis
to
was my boss.
reassign you
There.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was my boss. And that was an incredible experience. So cut to, I become a buyer for Marissa. And Marissa was always very it was all designer, everything that she bought for the store. And it was at the time, early 2000s, where advanced contemporary or contemporary was really becoming this big business in fashion in the US. And I was like, you've got to invest in these brands. These brands are like up and coming smaller designers. This is where things are going. And so I was helping her with that. And that was...
And how do you... I mean, I guess this is the secret sauce behind Veronica Beard, but how did you know instinctively like that was where things were going? When you...
Everyone, I mean, it wasn't just that I knew that, but I knew just as a customer, you know, being in my early 20s and also, you know, just that it wasn't like, you know, high street cheap fashion. I mean, this was like really designer clothing that was at a different price point. And you know, whether you walked into a Barney's or a Bergdorf Goodman or any of the department stores, they had enormous floors of contemporary fashion, you know, so it was just kind of explaining to her at that point when her business was so designer to break into that. And so she gave me an opportunity with that. And that was so fun. And I just loved researching all these brands. I loved knowing everything about that. I mean, I'm a big researcher, so that was very fun for me. And it was the other side. So then I had the wholesale side and I had the buying side, which was to have both of those experiences before starting our own business was amazing for me. It gave me a lot of confidence.
How did you, so when you're researching those young designers, where do you look to do that? Or
I mean, it was everywhere. It was shopping. There were so many different ways to consume it then. Then we were really reading Women's Wear Daily.
Right. Because
there was all these blogs and Vogue was like, you know, it was so different because fashion was, the shows were all at Bryant Park. It was like, Bryant Park was like church where everyone would go to worship. You know what I mean? You would see all the shows there. It wasn't, now all the shows are everywhere. And so I think like the fashion community is less cohesive because people are doing whatever they're doing or they're showing or they're not showing. There's not that consistency. And that's been great for some things. And I think not so great for others. But
so you're working as a buyer, you're working with her. And then give me, where are we now? You're 24, 25?
I'm 25. I'm married. I get pregnant with Clark. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to it was funny because once I got married and then I was pregnant, I was like, what am I going to do? Because I was very young when I got pregnant, and a lot of my friends were older than me, and luckily they had kids, but all my friends that were my age were like still out partying at Bungalow 8. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm having a baby.
Well, at least you had me.
I know. At least I had you. We were a couple weeks apart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's Emmeline's birthday?
She's in October.
Yeah. And Clark is too, 13th.
Yeah. Yeah. She's the 19th.
Yeah. I guess, I think Jamie believed in me. Jamie is my husband, who is the greatest person in my life. And I think he truly believed in me a lot more than I believed in myself. And I think he really wanted me to do something because I think he realized that if I didn't, it wasn't that motherhood or marriage wasn't going to be completely fulfilling, but there was just more. There was more that I needed.
I remember that period because you were living on, was it 10th Street?
10th Street,
yeah. And Clark was a baby, and you were talking about. I mean, but I also kind of remember.
I had like 100 different ideas.
Yeah, you talking about too interior design, which you are
loved.
Also an incredible talent. And for listeners, it's already. So what I was going to tell you earlier when I was talking to you about Nashville and Andrew having a bunch of young women in his office.
Yeah.
I got off piste and ADD'd and didn't finish that story, but some of them didn't realize that there are two Veronicas and how incredible that actually is, having two sister-in-laws with the same name, but also with these, both incredibly talented and with these, sort of distinct skill sets.
Yeah.
So let's go back. Mm-hmm. We're at that apartment, which was a terrific apartment, by the way. So fun. And you're having those conversations with Jamie and with your close friends about your ideas. Yeah.
So many ideas.
So
I was all over the place. I was like, God, do I go back to work? Do I go into interiors? I was begging basically anybody to like be partners, what ideas. And Veronica and I had, so just to bring that in, Veronica and I are partners. We're married to brothers.
Yes.
We have the same name. So two Veronicas married the Beard brothers.
Yes.
And
Anson Beard being Veronica Mealy's husband,
yes.
Jamie being yours.
Exactly. And what's so crazy is Veronica and I met the same night that I met my husband. We were at Alex and Louis Rose's wedding.
Yes.
And we were dinner partners.
And you were actually purposely seated next to each other as sort of, it was a setup.
A setup.
Of sorts, yeah.
Yes. And I just remember sitting there. I've said this so many times, but I met Veronica. Alexis had been at the party the night before and I didn't go. And she's like, oh my God, I met this other Veronica. You got to meet her tonight. And
now were Anson and Veronica married? They were married.
And she was pregnant with Helena.
Okay.
And so Alexis found me at the wedding when I got there. And she's like, you have to come over here and meet Veronica. And so we meet. And we were both sort of like, you're the other Veronica. Yeah. I'd never met another Veronica. And she'd never met another Veronica. And the only Veronica that I knew was like who had wiped the sweat off of Christ's brow. Like that's the only other Veronica who I was named after.
Which, Elizabeth, which is your mother, definitely named you after.
Definitely
we didn't even
after.
Talked about your mother and her being Cuban and all the wonderful, her spirituality.
So that's where my name came from. But anyway, so we meet and then cut to, I'm introduced to Jamie. We all sit down at the table. And Jamie's to my right, and Veronica and Anson are across the table. And Jamie is really super flirty and just, working hard. And the whole time I'm like, this guy is adorable.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing. But I'm looking at Veronica thinking there's no way that this is ever going to go anywhere. Like, and I wasn't even trying to be a crazy person. Like that crazy girl that's like already like fast forwarding to being married and having children with this guy. But It was such a weird thing. Anyway, cut to Jamie and I have been together ever since that night. And Veronica and I had, that was 2002. So that was 22 years ago, January 19th.
Yes. And then your wedding was in New Orleans, which was wonderful.
Yep.
Which is where your mother's family is from.
Yeah. And I went to Tulane, so it was very special.
Great. And how long is after that? So remind me how long I remember
so
when you met.
We were dated for 2 years, engaged for a year. So over that period, Veronica and I became great friends, would sit in the corner. Veronica was a badass finance.
Yes. Yeah.
Lady. Okay. I mean, she was kicking butt with the guys and, started Co2 with Philippe Lafont and was amazing. And I understood nothing about what she did in life. Like that was just so not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But we connected so much on a personal level. We're both Veronicas. We're both middle children. We're both cancers. We're both, really intuitive people, big family people, and started this friendship and always talking about fashion and product and who was doing things and what was missing in the market and all these things. We'd be like at family events, hiding in a corner. And then Veronica left Co2 after her fourth. She has 5 kids.
Yes.
After her fourth.
Amazing.
I know. She is superwoman mom. She is the Kris Jenner.
Yeah.
She truly is. She is like a mama. In the best way.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is crazy. She was born to have kids.
Do you remember the actual conversation? I mean, I know you had so many conversations leading up to the conversation, but when you two both decided you were going to do this, and because Veronica M had 4 children at the time, and you just had Clark.
I had Rafe too. I mean, I had Halsey
too.
As well.
Oh, right. Yeah. You're looking at embarking on this thing. You both have full plates.
Yeah.
How did, and you,
at the time it was just one jacket. So it wasn't like, we weren't like having 32 stores and, this huge business and 300 employees. It was, we got to get this one jacket made. And it was, basically, I mean, the whole thing about the Dickey jacket is that it really existed in menswear. It didn't exist for women. It's a blazer is a blazer is a blazer. It's the greatest thing as a woman that you put on and you're like dressed. It is armor. We always say it's the superwoman cape.
But that was your concept, because before then, I mean, I really lost out with you having this huge successful career, because if you recall, you would help me get my clothes for the season. You're like, you just need a uniform. Yeah. Like, why are you, I'm like, just tell me what I need to buy, like the 4 things I need to buy.
I would have loved to have been a stylist.
I mean,
I would have loved
this could be like, a
side hustle.
All your different side hustles, 100%. But that concept is your and Veronica's concept.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, the guinea pig here, and I'm sure just the idea of, that makes such great sense, because so many people want to be able to look good, feel good, and not have too much, right?
You know our line, look good, feel good, do good.
That is in the bio, but I actually
it just
swear to God,
right off your
when
tongue.
You just looked at me, I'm like, I didn't, it rolled off my tongue.
Selling the dream here for us.
But that's real. I mean, that's real. And you can see how people responded. So, you remember that you've got the blazer, right?
Yeah. And so we launched it was, I mean, actually the best part of starting this business was the early days when we knew nothing. And it was, I had some connections that could help us, find a production person. I knew wholesale accounts. I knew a lot of buyers. So I could get people to come see us. We knew Allison Aston. So Allison started helping us with PR.
Right.
I had my apartment, which had less kids than Veronica's. So we decided to make my apartment our showroom and sell the collection out of there. And so we really ran the business for 2 years out of my apartment. But really out of Veronica's car, my apartment, our factory, which was Kevin, who made all of our jackets in the beginning and still does, on 38th Street. And basically we did not know, but we were convinced of making this jacket. And then once we sold it, once it hit the floors, it sold out. We were like, oh my God, we got to make more jackets.
So you both are sitting there. We're going to embark on this thing. We're going to start with the jacket. That was a conscious decision.
Well, it was just the jacket.
Right? But then you had the dickey concept.
Well, no. It was the dickey jacket.
The dickey jacket, right?
Yeah.
And then you were coming up with all the different.
Yeah. So it was the fact that you could have one jacket and a lot of different personalities with that jacket. And so we had the hoodie, we had the upstate, which is like a fisherman's sweater. I
still have that, by the way. And by the way, my first one I still wear all the time.
With the old label in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were so many ways to wear it. And I think it was being able to change up the style of it. The versatility was so important. It was so classic, but novel. And people loved it. And so basically we launched this collection with 8 accounts. And then they were like, we need more. What's the next thing? So then we started a little capsule collection the next spring. And that was teeny. And it was like the blouse, the skirt, the dress, and there was like some convertible aspects to you had all of those things. Yeah. Like the dress with the zip off sleeves and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't shop that often. So
I know.
I'm wearing, this is probably like a BB sweater.
No, that's like 2 years old.
Oh, 2 years old? Okay, good. That's good for me.
That's good. Anyway, and so then we were sort of off to the races, and it was like, oh my God, we need to get a little office space because we can't be doing this out of my apartment. And so we started very, very, very slowly. And I think the first 3 years were insane. I mean, like it was like cobbling together how we're going to make payroll with like our few employees. I mean, there was some times where we thought that we were going to have to shut down, just because we didn't set out to do exactly this.
Right.
And then year 3, we really started actually growing the business. We took on a group of minority investors who were incredible. And they were like titans in the industry. We knew that they would be able to help us really catapult the business.
Right.
And we hired Steph, who was one of my oldest, dearest friends from the IFA days.
Yeah.
And Steph is a genius. And she's just sort of yin and yang with my brain, also with Veronica's, but she's that third leg of the triangle for us. And it's been incredible. The last 10 years have been just this amazing ride of growing this business. And I think really the thing about our business is that we have great product, but we also really, really understand our customer.
Yeah.
And we always say we are our customer and we know what she wants. We're always in her head. We're always like, every collection is designed around what you're doing, where you're going in the fall, the pieces that you need, the events that you're going to, like how your life, what are the trends that are infused in the collection. But our collection is like cool classic, so it doesn't change that much, but it's got to change enough that you're going to want to buy the new sweater,
Right. But the good news is for people like me, I'm still wearing my original blazer, it is so classic, right? Even though you want to get the next thing each season. But going back on the skill set piece and how you all, because starting a business is super hard, right?
Yeah.
And I should know what the statistic is about how many new startups fail, but it's incredible. I mean, it's such an incredible journey you've been on and such a hugely, wildly successful company. Did you and Veronica have clear lines in the beginning of she was going to be handling kind of the financial piece? Because that was her, even though she obviously loves fashion and has her own style and all of that stuff.
We kind of did. It was sort of we didn't have a business plan and we didn't have set responsibilities. I think it was kind of understood. I did not know how to balance a checkbook or speak to a lawyer or do any of the things that needed, to operate.
Yeah.
And she did. I had like a very, very clear gut about the industry and knew people. And we had we both had, a huge love of product that has always been the sort of North Star of this. I mean, I really am involved, in the marketing, the branding of our business. Veronica is very involved in the design piece and, the fittings, and we're both in all the design meetings. It's funny how like 13 years later, the things that I would have been known for, in the business, I think sometimes are now on the other side.
Right.
And for her, the same thing. So it's been amazing. We definitely have very distinct, like I work on all the stores. I design all the stores. Those are my babies with the retail team. And that's been, for me, such a great pleasure because I get to like scratch that itch with interiors that I love so much. So, Veronica's been very like hands off on that because that's not her thing. And yes, of course she loves interiors, but that is where, I sort of run with that. Well,
I remember when those early days but you were selling out and things were going so well. And I remember saying to you, like, when are you going to open a store? Like, when is the store? Right. And Veronica M was like, we have to be, she was so disciplined about.
She was so annoying. She was like,
when that was going to happen.
She was like, we can't do it. We can't do it. I was like, why not? Thank God we didn't. Oh my God. Thank God we didn't.
But having that great balance of experience and perspective and.
Yes. And I'm so bullish about the things that I like really believe. And I think, and Veronica is too, but Veronica, I think, had more experience in seeing business. And I think that she always says, one thing that she learned from Philippe was don't build the stadium before the fans.
Right.
And that was,
wow, that's a great,
and it was a great thing because I would have gone, bulldozing ahead and open a store and we would have gone out of business.
Well, I was like, when's the store? Yeah. I'm so with you on that, because
it is, like having that restraint is so important, and I think, we've really, really built this business so carefully. And I definitely give that credit to Veronica and Steph for sort of gating that because I think I would have like pushed it faster.
Well, it's probably good. I'm sure that you're pushing,
it's good
right?
friction.
It's the yin and the yin and the yang. Yeah. Tell me, so you talked about, you loving to do research, right? Even back in the day, pre-social media, where you're reading, women's wear and Vogue,
every
all
single
that
magazine.
And then you and Veronica sharing that passion, talking about it all the time, and you having the insight to say kind of like, I can see where things are going, and having, say like you know your customer because you are your customer.
Right.
But where do you get inspiration for your designs? What is that process? Now you probably have, I don't even know how many people,
designing,
working on that piece. And do they come to you or do you go to them? Give us an inside, behind the music. We're at the office. You're coming in, you're designing. Like, what are you, now it's January.
It could be the smallest thing that I see. Like even, it's so funny. Oh my God. Now, of course I'm going to forget because I'm having another senior moment.
You're
the outfield. What's the song? Josie's on a vacation.
Yeah, I can sing the whole thing.
Okay, so that song, this is such a
I'm gonna lose tonight.
Yeah,
I don't want to. I don't want to lose. Oh, your love or our love tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, so the song.
Okay, wait. So no, I'm saying like it's little things. Like it could be a song. By the way,
listeners, did you like that? I mean, I don't know.
That was so good. Your pitch was so good.
Well,
I was don't make me sing.
No, I won't. But I mean, the fact that just even took place. Poor Jess in the booth.
I know.
God, I'm sorry.
Okay, so
this is where I'm Googling. You know what I need to get? Like
Shazam.
Like a not a Robin Gibbons, but like a person that can look up things for me. I think Joe Rogan has one of those people. We're not there yet. But we gotta. All right, so I'm looking at the outfield.
Okay, so the season that I'm a huge believer in flow. I'm a huge believer in manifesting things. I'm a huge believer in. Well, I have a huge faith, but I really believe in these moments, like these propelling moments, right, that happen in life. And whether it was like when we really started, there was one time where we were going to have, before our investors, we were going to have this investor who she'll remain unnamed, but we really thought this was going to happen. And I brought this person in and I thought this was going to be it. This was going to make us we were going to be legit, all the things. And at the last minute, they pulled out. And I had one of those Matthew McConaughey moments, with green light.
Yeah.
Where I was in the car on the phone and thinking, oh my God, it's coming in right now. He's calling me to say we're doing this. And he said no.
Yeah.
And I was at a red light and the light turned green. And you can either fall down and this can be over, or you can use this. And we were doing another podcast and I said the same thing. I was like, it was like Taylor Swift fuel.
Yeah.
It was like
your Scooter Braun moment.
Yeah.
Andrew, actually, my husband, has a list of people that have done the exact same thing, think they're going to invest in his company, and then they decide at the last minute. And he's like, I have a list.
It's the fuel.
I have a list, and it's the fuel. And I refer back to it. And it
is. I think anytime that I feel down or I'm second guessing myself, I think back, I put myself physically back in that moment. And it is, like the Eminem song. I mean, you just you only get one shot.
That song is called "Lose It" by Eminem, which I could take you to. Now. I did just check. It is "Your Love" by the Outfield.
Your Love. Yes.
I don't want to lose your love tonight.
Yes.
Which we can do.
So "Lose Your Love." Just to go back to that, the inspiration comes from it could be seeing a woman wearing something. It could be a song that I hear. It could be being in a store and I don't know, or, seeing a bunch of palm trees on the beach. Just totally.
Do you hear the song?
2012 or 2013 is when we're showing our spring collection. We've taken on these investors. Steph has started. We decide to pivot the brand from opening designer price point to contemporary.
Okay.
And
what's the difference there? Opening designer.
So at that point, our business is all wholesale.
Okay.
So where you are positioned is dictated by the real estate in the department store. So designer is on the second floor, contemporary is on the 7th floor. I'm talking Bergdorf Goodman, but that's how it's all delineated, right? So we knew that there was 10x the foot traffic on the contemporary floor that there was in the opening designer area that we were in. Just it's more expensive, less people.
Yep.
So we decided to cut our price by 30%, but leave everything the same, with the bet that the volume would increase so much that we would make up the difference, which we did. Anyway, that song was this moment where I just had Rafe. We had these investors. All of a sudden, the business started to unlock. We were doing the Vogue Fashion Fund and being videotaped, which was my nightmare from hell. And this song was just I don't know. It was this crazy motivator. Music is super motivating to me. And I love, I have that the soundtrack of my life.
Yeah.
Right. We all have that, but I have super soundtrack of VB through music.
Do you have a
playlist?
Yeah. There was this speaker that I went to years, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And his whole thing was like having your like pump songs, which could be like, it could be Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger.
It could be,
for sure.
okay. Like, you know, whatever.
Yourself.
Okay. Lose Yourself.
Yeah.
You know, Mariah
outfield.
Carey's Make It Happen.
Yeah,
it could be the outfield, whatever it is. So we should consider this. Maybe I should share, we should share some.
Veronica, when we started the business, so, you know, when you're, I mean, this is TMI, but when you're with women, you get on the same schedule, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Veronica and I were together so much that like, we knew every single thing about each other. And then all of a sudden we're at dinner one night and she's not drinking. And I was like, are you pregnant?
Yeah. And
she was like, I didn't want to tell you. I'm like, we just started this business like 3 months ago.
I mean,
and anyway, cut to, she's pregnant. She's the driver. She's driving the car around. I'm like running out to pick up fabric, bolts of fabric. I'm like up ladders trying to get fabric out of Mood, like dumping boxes at Saks Fifth Avenue. We don't even know how to deliver them. We just like left them on the doorstep, basically. I mean, it was those years were so funny. I wish somebody had been following us around because it was like, you know, Lucy and Ethel. I mean, we didn't know, it was hilarious.
But yet, good lesson for the listeners, right? You just kept chopping wood.
Going.
Just kept going.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
So let's go back. So you're at the phone call comes and you're at the light.
Yeah.
The outfield wasn't playing at the light. No, that was just a separate
like a
inspiration thing.
Song, I think came
but
out.
Then, and actually I do say this to myself and to others when there's a disappointment that you can't see what's coming next, but something else is coming and there's a reason why.
My mom says when God closes a door, he opens a window.
Right. I mean, Elizabeth, so good. And all your other spiritual, your sisters,
many
you've
mystics
got a lot of mystics, a lot of good witches there. But I think that's true. And of course you couldn't see what was coming down the pike with your other investors who not only have, weren't bringing just resources to the table, but were actually bringing tremendous expertise to the table.
Well, so the guy that said no was, to me, the connector to two of our investors that I really wanted.
Okay.
And so when he said no, I was like, oh my God, how is this going to happen? So I took another route with another person and ended up getting the two investors that we wanted. But it was very clear and very prescriptive who those people needed to be for us. And I think that that's really important in business, to like really understand what you need and want and to go after that. Because like you can't waste time. Like we didn't have a business plan, but I had a plan. We had a plan about what we needed to get there.
But you also, I mean, this is just my observation or impression that people are investing in people, right? I mean, obviously having a business plan, or your ideas, or walking them through your vision, but they were looking at the two of you. You were sharing, you were the motto, right? And your vision, and they were responding to it.
Yeah.
Like we're
I mean, Andrew Rosen, by the time when we started courting these investors, because that's what it felt like. I felt like I was like on a...
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
it's like Match.com.
Yeah.
Or speed dating.
So I've never tried to impress a person more in my life than going through this experience. And Andrew Rosen, who's since become like a great mentor of mine, I adore him, like call him for a lot of different things.
For listeners, who's Andrew Rosen?
Andrew Rosen's one of our investors, but he's considered the godfather of contemporary fashion in the United States. I mean, he founded Theory. He's invested in Rag & Bone, Frame, Reformation, you name it, Skims. I mean, every brand that is done well, Andrew has had some hand in most of them. Alice and Olivia. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And so he was I was pregnant with Rafe. I'm like, oh, great. This guy thinks they think that this is just like a vanity project. Here I am. She just had a baby. I have another one. I'm pregnant now. I'm like trying to wear big shirts and hide the fact that I'm pregnant because I was like, this is going to be a no, you know?
Yeah.
And so this is another phone call where he called and
this is 3 years.
This was 3 years in.
3 years in. Okay.
And I could tell that he was like not convinced. And I was like, okay, I have got to get this over the line. I got to say the right thing. And Andrew's like, beyond being this amazing, like fashion, you know, genius, he has a lot of other interests. He's like a big horse guy, lots of horse racing, owns a lot of racehorses. And so I was like, okay, I need to speak to him in horse speak. I was like, look, we are
coming out of the gate.
We are a really incredible filly. Like there is such opportunity here. And I was like, if we have the right trainer and the right owner, we are going to win this thing like you've never. And I think he was like, who the hell is this person?
That, by the way, that's now you did your research. You're a researcher.
Oh, I'm a researcher. So I know what color underwear you're wearing.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's like,
well, you know me, I'm wearing white cotton because I don't deviate.
Sure.
And a bra that's
but
at least
I'm
15
like,
years old.
It's important to know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, so I had read every single article about Andrew. That I think really helped.
Yep.
And then
was that the last conversation?
That was. And then we had dinner.
Okay. And then what does he say to you? So how long is that after the green light, red light incident?
Oh, that was probably a year later.
Okay. So then you're sitting at dinner. You've done your horse pitch.
Yes.
Like we got coming around. You've got the best jockey.
We've got the guys. We're doing it. They're becoming, you know, investors, and we're going to do this. And then it was really just like professionalizing everything and going after. I mean, nothing ever changed. It was this white space that we were going after and this customer. And we just got better at doing it, you know, and it's still the same. Our marketing materials are still the same. The customer is still the same. There's just, we can get to more of them, you know, and it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing to be doing something where you're like, we've done it so honestly and authentically that like, if I look at the first season's brief, like PR brief, it's the same as today, you know? So that's something I'm super
Well, if it ain't broke, I mean, right?
Yeah.
Obviously your mottos stayed the same.
Yeah. And you know, the whole thing about Veronica Beard is we're creating a lifestyle brand. It is about, it's not like trend and fashion with a capital F. It is outfitting amazing women. I mean, we talk about the doers, the makers, the movers and shakers. Those are our muses, you know, these women. And you can be stay-at-home mom who's like on, you know, PA, and you could be an artist at home, or you could be a doctor or saving the world or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. There's so many shades of all of that. And every woman is like this incredible multi-hyphenate, you know? And I think just really we're providing the clothes for her to like go big in, you know? And that's like, if you like want to go big and look great on a date, or you want to like, you know, throw your things on that you feel good on to go to the grocery store, whatever it is. But we're designing the clothes you put on your back to go do you.
Oh, I mean, well, I'm doing me now with my VB sweater on right now. What is so back to the creative process though, because I do think that's really interesting, that collaboration. So you come in the office, you're going in the office, right? You're getting ready for the next season. You've got the outfield or whatever your inspiration is. You saw something at a store. You like my shoes, for example, that I'm wearing today,
your shoes,
which is, they're like slippers for everyone who's listening. They're slippers essentially. But,
those could be the launch of, you know, fall 25.
I'm happy to, I told you I'd give them to you, but they smell like a garbage can. I got to get you a new pair.
Call them to Leslie.
Cause I wear them every day. Yeah. But you go to the office and you have a team there. Or how does it work? They're like, you share with them, you and Veronica share with them something you've seen or something that you want.
Now we're designing 9 months out.
Okay.
So it's like, So we sit with the team.
Yeah.
And we go through, we have like a big ideation meeting talking about the next collection, what we're coming off of from the collection before, the zeitgeist in fashion culture, in the world, what's happening. And, just like, for instance, fashion has gone through this big, like, quiet luxury moment, this 80s and 90s sort of all of this silhouette reference. And I think that that's been incredible, but it's sort of also run its course. And, fashion always lines up with what's going on in the sort of the bigger picture. It's always like a reflection of, like, you think back on the roaring 20s and flapper dresses. That was like, after the Depression, and everybody needed to sort of like go off the rails and, do this whole thing. So
that's really interesting because obviously art history, which you studied in college, is a reflection kind of what's happening in art, painting, sculpture is a reflection of the times too. 100%. And of course, fashion would follow.
So if you look at just in the last 5 years, what fashion has done, it was like COVID, right? We had this like clamp down where everybody like just stopped and it was like probably like a 6-month period. It was like spending stopped, right? We weren't going anywhere. There was like,
but what you started doing, responding to that new normal is, I remember there were all these kind of loungy stuff you had going on.
Well, because we tried, because everybody was selling sweatpants. Yes. We didn't sell sweatpants. Our woman's like not lounging around a lot. Like she's like, grabbing the bull by the horns. So we didn't make sweatpants. Like nobody wanted to buy sweatpants.
But didn't you have, I think I did.
No, but quickly we made them.
Yeah, exactly.
We quickly made them because we needed to sell sweatpants. That was the only thing that was selling.
Yeah.
And they actually didn't even sell that well. Our customers still didn't really want them from us. But what was interesting was then all of a sudden, there was a break and like, people started gathering again. And then it was this crazy blitz of spending, right? After, like COVID. So it was like a lot of spending, print, excess, like all this stuff. And then we went into this like quiet luxury moment because it was like everything had to like shut down again. Right?
I see. Because it's cyclical. It's kind of what
totally cyclical. So anyway, so we've been in that. And I think that we're going to probably come out of that again pretty soon because I think people get pretty tired of, they want the next thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, the team is really, really creative. They'll latch on to like...
How many people are on the team? And when you're having these meetings, how many people are at the table? Are you at a boardroom table?
We're in a big design studio. So there could be 20 people in the room.
Okay. And do they have like, I cut a piece of fabric from this fabric. I really like this print.
Yes.
That could be
everyone. Like we all work together on the mood board. We all work together on the print, the prints that we're picking, the color story, all the fabrics, the whole thing. And then there's the wovens team, there's the knitwear team, there's the softs team, print team, like all the things. So there's a lot of people there. And our team.
Now, are they all pitching like they think that they're like, is woven team, like we really think that this should be a woven season or does everyone kind of get equal because you want to have balanced?
We want to have,
collection.
30% jackets, tailoring, 30% dresses, 30% tops or, whatever, softs, 30% softs, 30% tailoring, and then 30% jeans.
Now, do you know going into the season, we need to create like 10 sweaters?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
you know exactly.
By the unit.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. It's like serious now.
So good. And was that's something obviously like you had that background, Steph had that background.
Steph is totally responsible.
But Andrew Rosen and that team, that was probably, as you're expanding, right, was another probably guide in that. Right.
Yeah. So he would come and look at the collection and give feedback and, but he was so amazing for all of his connections, like get in touch with this factory or get in touch with these, mills for production, whatever, all of the things. I mean, there's so many, when we were opening stores, he had 1 million stores.
Yeah.
So it was all that. But, our other investors were equally as amazing and helpful throughout. I mean, Lou Frankfurt is one of our investors who was the CEO of Coach for 30 years.
Oh, right. Okay.
So he's been incredible. And John Howard in private equity, he's invested in a ton of brands alongside Andrew Rosen, and then Kajak Kalejian, who founded Intermix. And that was that was the person that he was my friend because we knew each other from buying.
Yeah.
And so he was how we came together. And then he introduced us to Andrew and John.
Okay.
And then Lou came in after.
Tell me though, so on the store front, right? You now have 350 employees.
Yeah.
You probably, when you go to like your office Christmas party, you're like, it's nice to meet you, Cindy.
Yes.
You probably, And then, but how exciting, right? To have all these people working.
It is. It's so exciting, but it's also sad. Like, I wish I really did know everyone. And I hate like sometimes getting on the elevator and we don't have the entire building that where our headquarters are. We have most of the building, but I don't know sometimes if I'm on the elevator with somebody who has just started at VB or is on one of the other floors until we open the door.
And you get off on the same floor. Well, they should introduce them. You should be like, listen, I'm in my 40s. Like I need, this is like
I'm taking supplements.
We need QQ10. Like this is not, we need some help here.
Yeah.
Like give me throw a lady a bone.
Yeah, exactly.
But you've got 21 stores.
No,
right?
32.
32 stores. Yeah. And see, I'm not as good of a researcher as you are.
32.
And then new stores like outside of the U.S., right?
We have London and Toronto, and then we have 3 shop-in-shops in South Korea and Seoul.
Okay. And how do you... obviously, there's data, and you guys did all this research about what places. Like you knew that there was a following in Korea, or that people were... Did you see people were buying a lot from you from Korea online?
Yes, well,
and then
Korea
you decided...
was like for us, felt like the least intimidating Asian market to start in.
Okay.
And that was actually another Andrew Rosen
insight from them.
Yeah. We knew from his theory business that was where we could sort of start.
Okay.
know?
And obviously you get to go to the store openings.
Yeah.
In all these different places, and you meet, the people that are there that are working and doing all of that.
Well, and the customer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually like, I think what Veronica and I spend the most time on, other than design, really is meeting the customer and growing this community and really getting the feedback of, about our product, about the lifestyle, about just whatever. And we're not even talking about fashion most of the time. We'll talk about kids or what you're doing or what you read. I was at a lunch yesterday and it was a business lunch, and we didn't talk about business until the last 5 minutes.
Right.
It was all about like, have you read the book Never Enough?
No, I haven't read it yet, but I know.
But you know about it.
Yeah.
So it's all about like the toxic achievement culture that we created for our children.
Yeah.
So, I left there and like immediately ordered that book.
Yeah.
And I think just like learning from women has been the most amazing part of this business. It's like supporting women, learning from women,
But that's something that you and Veronica have consciously cultivated. I mean, at least in my observation, like you will host dinners or lunches and get women together. You want to hear about their stories. You want to understand. And I guess that's part of getting back to you being, so conscientious as a researcher and knowing when you said you have her in your head, you're getting to meet a lot of hers, right? You're trying to understand people's lifestyles, their perspectives, what they're looking for. That's pretty inspirational stuff, but that's coming from you both. I mean, that's sort of how you decided to kind of cultivate your brand. And besides, look good, feel good, there's also the do good component. So assuming, a lot of the listeners who follow you know how what a tremendous job you both have done with having being connected to different philanthropic causes.
Yeah.
But tell me, when did Veronica Beard Gives Back become part of your business, like part of your whole ethos? I mean,
So Allison Aston, it's really her baby. We started doing it, but it wasn't like programmatic and it wasn't, a thing. And then basically we named it and it, Al really, really runs it. And it is, I think Veronica and I get the credit for it, but Allison should. I mean, it is her baby. But the whole point is, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think, for us, it's like we can afford to give back. We want to give back. And it's so important. I mean, it's actually the best part. Like when we, at the end of the year, figure out how much money we've given away, it's like, it's amazing. I mean, that's like, to be able to do that it's really incredible. And
how does it? So for listeners, Allison Aston is, I don't know what Allison's title is now.
Al is jack of all trades.
Besides being like,
so Allison started as she was in charge of PR, but Allison's in charge of community. She's heads up all branded events, all events. She's very involved in retail. Runs Veronica Beard Gives Back. I mean, she's Al's OG at VB.
Yeah.
So it's like,
no, I know.
She's
what, but how does she, or is there a team, that Allison oversees that decides which causes, what are your criteria?
We all decide together. So it's women-led organizations that we want to, support and shine a light on, and things that it's usually always women or children,
right?
And women's health, and it's things that, are really important to our community. Right now we're working with Help Us Adopt this quarter. So it's a quarterly program.
I was going to ask, how often do you change?
Quarterly.
Okay.
Quarterly. And so Help Us Adopt is our partner this quarter, and Becky Fawcett is the founder, and she is one of Veronica's very dear old friends, and she has adopted 2 of her children, and it's a nonprofit that she started to help families in the adoption process. It's very, very expensive and very hard to adopt children.
Yep.
So she's been incredible in this space. And so we're, raising awareness and funds for her. And
so you advertise on your website, right? For what your quarterly cause is. And then remind me, in the stores also, will there be something there?
So we do events. So we do events quarterly with our quarterly partners. So in this case, Help Us Adopt, but also locally, we have a huge how we've built our customer base and our goodwill with our customer is these events,
right?
Where
having store events to support a local at the local store that has a connection,
to give a venue to give awareness and to give money back to these organizations. So that is a huge part of our business. And Al and Lila and their team run all of that, and that is huge. I mean, just the amount of events that our company generates a year is crazy.
Well, tell me, okay, so typical day. Now, I don't think you mind me sharing that you live in Long Island.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Veronica and Anson and their family still is in New York.
Yep. Yep.
You commute in a very unique way. I don't know if you want to share that, but
I ride the rails.
I thought you were taking the boat.
Well, no, I have, but that sometimes.
Okay.
But, I mean, my daily commute is I take Rafe to school.
Yes.
Drop him off at school.
Rafe is your youngest son. You have 3 boys,
baby.
Right?
Yes. And so I used to take them all to school, but now the 2 older ones go to school nearby. And so
And Clark can probably drive, or does Jamie take
Clark
them?
can drive.
I know.
And so I drop Rafi off, and then I commute by train into the city, into Penn Station, and then either take a cab or walk from Penn to the office.
Okay. And then typical day,
am I gonna?
Do you do like a working girl with sneakers? What do you?
No.
Or is that why you're eyeing my slipper shoes? Because
no,
you can wear these.
I wish I was better at that. I'm like really a high heel person.
Yeah, well, I know you're wearing them right now. You got gorgeous high heel boots on.
So I end up taking cabs a lot.
Listen, no shame in that. Yeah. You're talking to a,
I'm also usually running late, so I don't have the time. The luxury of like walking is. I love to walk.
So, but then you get in the office. Is Veronica in the office? And
literally go time.
Okay.
I leave. I don't sit. Veronica and I share an office. Our desks are side by side, and we're never in there. We are in a meeting after meeting after meeting.
Okay. With everything, design, events, marketing.
We went to a lunch yesterday, as I said, but I hadn't been out of the office to a lunch in 100 years. It is like we go.
Well, I know
into the
it's
cave,
impossible to. I mean, it's very hard to pin you down.
No, I mean, literally, we're just in meeting after meeting after meeting. So there's not like a.
And then, what time do you? What's your train? What do you take? The 420, the 550?
No. I take usually the 5:07.
Okay.
And then I'm home by like 6:30.
Great. Yeah. With the boys are there. All right. Let's talk a little bit about your wonderful family. So Jamie, who's, and I will say, I don't think you'll be upset with me sharing this, but you and Veronica have two incredibly supportive husbands who help make sure the trains are in on time with everybody, because there's a lot of people to manage.
Well, and they have their own businesses. I mean, Jamie has a big real estate business that he operates out of Florida. So
yeah, you guys have a lot, but you're real partners, like partners.
Oh, truly, I would not, I don't think if I was married to any other man, I'd be able to do this, because he is so supportive. It's never like, oh my God, you have to go on this trip. Or, he's got to travel a lot too for his business, but, it is just support all the time. And I think I think respect and support is so important to have that in a marriage, you know?
Oh, 100%.
That's like the most important.
But he's
love,
also
obviously.
he's so proud of you, and you're so proud of him, and you have just such a wonderful.
No, I feel
mutual.
so blessed. Truly, I'm like, it's unbelievable to me what a good person I'm married to. Well,
listen, for listeners, I'm a retired matrimonial lawyer, and it's my old saying that elephants don't marry giraffes. So, you both are pretty spectacular. All right. So, but as the mom of three young boys, or, tweens and teens, how do you you just balance it, obviously, because you're both partners, you've got a schedule, you have like your phone.
It's so funny. It's the most over-asked question that we get. How do you tell us about the balance? I'm like, there's no balance. We have the days that I feel like a rock star at work, I feel like a failure at home, and vice versa. And I am constantly running. It's just running. Like every minute of the day is accounted for. And, and I think that it's that whole thing of like a body in motion stays in motion.
Yeah.
I think that if I did stop, I probably would never be able to get up again. But
weekends though, you all prioritize your.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'm a huge compartmentalist. Yeah. So like, I go home and I'm like, Steph and I actually talk on the phone a lot at night because we're both so busy during the day. I'm with Veronica so much that Veronica and I can talk all the time.
Just for listeners, tell them what Steph's actual,
she's president.
She's president. I know if she's president.
So Veronica and I are co-CEOs and Steph is president. Okay. And so Steph and I will talk all the time at home at night, but that's like, a half an hour conversation over a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And then the weekends, are, hockey games and kids and dinner. But I think that life, Natalie Massenet, who founded Net-a-Porter.
Yeah.
When we were starting Veronica Beard, I read this article about her, and she said, you can't do it all. Like, you can't have a marriage, a business, and a social life that is all booming at the same time. Like, you can have your marriage and your business, or you can have your business and your social life, but like one ball is going to be falling as the others are rising, you know? And I think that's
which
really
is true juggling.
It's true. Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, I think that's probably true for everybody, right? That there's always something that's not, you know, that ball's lower than the other two balls in the three ball juggle. But I think you do a pretty damn good job of it.
Thank you. I mean, I try.
You know, I don't know of anyone who does it better.
I also, you know, I think just like in raising your kids, even this book that I just mentioned, Never Enough, it is, you know, I think for my boys, it's very important that they understand that this has like been about huge amount of work, right? Like, we've worked very hard to do this, and I've had to compromise a lot of things and time with them, and that they're incredibly supportive, and they get it, and I'm so proud that they do. But I also want them to know that like this isn't the expectation. Like, what we've done is pretty rare, you know, and it's hard. It's very hard to build a business. It's very hard to have success in your business, even if you build it, you know, and I think for them, I truly believe like if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I mean, I still like my like heart skips a beat when the elevator opens on 7 and I walk out. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that I get to do this. Like,
isn't that so great though?
I truly love it. And what I want for them, whatever that is
them to have that same feeling when the elevator door opens.
That is like the greatest
but by the way,
thing in the world.
Because, I mean, my nightstand looks like a self-help. I mean, it's like I've read Never Enough. I haven't read yet, but I will. And, you know, the best thing for kids is the example. Is the example. Right. And so you're doing that. And you're prioritizing them and you're pursuing your passion and your dream. And
like Halsey's so obsessed with fishing. And I'm just like, I want you to find a way that you can do that. You know what I mean? That's so.
Oh, by the way, he could do that. You know, Jamie Niven was in last week,
right?
Which was, I mean, he's one of my favorite people on planet Earth, but he's in his 70s, right?
Yeah.
And before we started, we were chatting, what's going on? He's like, I want to start doing voiceovers. Yeah. Here's a man who's had like such a successful multiple careers, but he's still, he has this interest.
Yeah.
Whether it's fishing or he wants to do voiceovers. Yeah. And I said to him, I'm like, we can't make that happen. Like between the two of us in 24 hours. He's like, no, I called Sherry Lansing and she said she's been out of the business so long. Anyway, I'm working on finding him a voiceover agent.
Oh my God.
That's one of my assignments. But to me, I love that so much because I love the pursuing a passion or something that you're interested in, no matter what age you are. And if Halsey doesn't want to pursue a career in fishing, right, it will always be something that's a passion of his for him to enjoy, just like interior design is for you.
And I really, people ask me all the time, is this what you always wanted to do? And it is.
Yeah.
Like truly since I was 4 years old, I remember I was obsessed with Wonder Woman and I was obsessed with Olivia Newton-John. And I would put on my...
It's good to know we were on the same page.
Yeah. I would put on my workout. I had this like little carpet sample that I don't know, my mom had from something that was my workout mat. And I had my record player and I would play Let's Get Physical. And I had really curly hair when I was little. So I had like an afro and I would wear like a headband and my leotard
leg
and
warmers,
stuff. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
And I was obsessed with the fashion. I was obsessed with Wonder Woman's outfit, like how she would spin and she would go from this like amazing outfit into this insane costume that I wanted, and I would draw the costume and then
you did make
a
Wonder Woman blazer because my dad got it for me for Christmas. It's so cute. I mean,
did he do that on his own?
He did on his own.
Oh my God,
on his own.
That is the cutest thing in the world.
I have it. I love it.
I love it. So this is truly my dream come true, and I also think that a lot of people know what they want to do when they're little.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like what you're like truly passionate about.
I knew what I wanted to do. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I Oprah was obviously out. I knew I wanted to do like be on a talk show or be a news anchor.
A reporter. Yeah.
And a friend of mine from St. George's father was dating this woman who shall remain nameless, but I'll tell you when we're finished taping, who was very successful business person. And I was talking to her and she said, "What do you want to do?" And I told her, and she said, "I don't think you're not pretty enough to be on television."
Oh my God.
And I'm not blaming this person for not pursuing that. I went to law school. I did send an audition tape for The View, which Doug Friedman helped me tape and styled me. It was hilarious. I didn't realize you had to have an agent back then, but thank God. I mean, God, but anyway, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I still have it. I'll have to.
I want to see that.
Some, but anyway, I think that, you have to listen to that voice, right? I mean, I didn't listen to the voice, but you have to, like, if you really want to have the experience of the elevator door, you have to listen to the voice. All right. So, poor Jess in the booth is probably like, we booked an hour and a half. These two are like, tell me, so what's next for the brand? Like,
so we're launching handbags. February 6th.
Amazing.
And that is really exciting. Basically over the last 13 years, we've been chipping away at the uniform. And it started with the jacket. We designed a full collection. Then it was jeans. Then it was shoes. Now it's bags. And I love our bags.
Oh, I can't wait to see them
and be able to wear them.
Oh, and then, but you're also doing some, like, I bought some beautiful napkins for my sister-in-law.
We did tabletop with, I'm having another singing moment. Hold on. You're going to have to read.
All right. Well, hold that thought. We'll come back to that. But so that's the brand, right? We've got the bags are coming out. We did some home stuff is coming, right? What about for you personally? What's on the
horizon?
Yeah. I'm
going on a surf trip in a week.
See, this is what I was talking about. See?
I'm going to Surf Simply. Have you heard of it?
Yes. I have heard of this. I just heard of it a couple of days ago because a friend of mine,
Kathy,
wanted to go. No, actually, it's someone who just started surfing.
Okay.
And she is on the wait list for this place.
So we're going with a group of people, and I'm really excited. Like I'm also like a person that like actually like has goals. Like I want to learn how to do that, and I do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Whether it was yoga or tennis, like I picked tennis back up. I mean, I've always played tennis, but tennis was my real sport. And I've had such joy in like really committing to tennis again.
Yeah, that's so great though.
So anyway, so surfing's like my new thing that I hope I hope I will like it. And I can't wait to be with our friends and just do that. So we're going there.
Very fun.
Yeah.
And then any resolutions,
I don't really do the resolutions.
Yeah.
I don't, because I feel like, first of all, the new year for me, I never think of January as the new year. I always think of September as the new year. Always,
because
my whole life.
Like
school
back
starts.
to school.
Yeah.
I like that. Maybe that's better.
So I don't ever, January is not my time. Like I don't do the like dry January. I probably should, but I don't.
I did dry January for about 3 days. Things fell off the rails.
But that's why I don't do it, because I'm like,
I know.
It won't work for me.
That is true. The resolutions thing, then you just make yourself feel bad, because I don't know if I've had a successful run. Clearly not, because last night the dry January
ended.
Was
finito.
Pretty wet. I love you.
I love you more.
I'm so happy to
proud of you that you're doing this. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my! Thank you so much for coming. I mean, I think it's just so, I want to do Veronica M at some point too, but I think having you all, maybe you've done this in other podcasts, talk about your your particular your background and not just the brand.
Yeah, no,
I think
haven't.
Is interesting for listeners because, that's how Veronica Beard came to be.
We always say it's two perspectives, one vision.
Oh, I love these ones. Yeah. We've got to make that into a bumper sticker.
Yeah, bumper sticker.
All right.
A t-shirt.
Yeah. Thank you, darling.
Love you.
Love you too.
All right.
That brings us to the end of this episode of The Interview. A huge thank you again to Veronica for joining us. And as always, thank you again for listening. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and follow us on Instagram at The Interview with Leslie Heaney. A new podcast is released every Wednesday. And until then, this is Leslie, and don't forget to join The Interview.